2 years ago, I was raped.
There's a lot of anger.
For not being manly enough.
There are two ideas about safe spaces.
My understanding of the world changed.
And I felt numb.
Are you a man or a mouse?
I was alone. I couldn't bring myself to say it. I was lost.
All I wanted was to be able to share my experience, what was happening to me, with someone.
All right, everyone, welcome once again to Safe Place for Men. All right, this is Thomas Edward, your male survivor and resiliency coach. Hey, you're like, hey, blast from the past. Yeah, the music or the intro, and that's kind of when we first started out. Now, for those of you, of course, that join us and are members on the Insiders, you have a different, if you want to say, intro that comes into play. All right, everybody, welcome. It's a wonderful, I'm going to say great Friday morning, 6. Yeah, I got up a little bit early again today, but I think it's because I'm energized. And the reason I'm energized because yesterday it actually rained in California, here where I am in Sacramento area, Folsom area. And you guys, oh man, every time I walked outside, I was just like, thank you, God, for rain. Thank you, God, for rain. Thank you, God, for rain. Oh, it was just such a wonderful sound. And then when I look out, the water bill, because we try to ration water here. And so I'm just so thankful. It's like, okay, the water bill will be less because it's raining and that keeps the grass green. And so then I don't have to use that water to water the grass. And then in the back of my yard, you guys know I like to plant stuff, right? So I'm kind of the person like, grow it and eat it. So I'm like, oh, this is great. So, my strawberries are starting to turn a little red there and they're growing, and got my medicinal herbs also growing in the backyard. And so to make my tinctures and different things like that. So I'm just excited. And so today I was like, okay, let me get up early. And so I'm going to go build some, it's my DIY day, do it yourself. So I'm going to go build some wooden planter boxes to put some other plants and edible things in as much as possible. It's like as a kid, when we were coming up, we always grew our own food back in Illinois. So I don't know, I think it's just something that stays with you. There's just something about putting your hands in the dirt. I'm gonna say therapeutic, putting your hands in the dirt and, trying to get those little plants to grow. And the thing is, you do everything that you can. And then after that, of course, nature takes over with the rain and the sun and those different type of things. So that's probably another reason why I'm up, because I'm thinking, I got to get those planter boxes done. And thankfully here in California, I've noticed only in my 4 years or 5 years, whatever here, that there's always this cold spot, because people, it gets hot like it was a couple of weeks ago, and people go out and they plant all their stuff, the stuff that probably needs heat. And then we get this little cold spell. And cold spell just means that like in the evenings, it'll drop down to like 40, something like that, which those of you living in Chicago and stuff where I come from, you're like, that ain't nothing. No, you're right. It's not nothing. But that's the cold spell here. And then stuff kind of dies off, and then you have to go buy it again. So I said, this year, I'm not going to do that. Said the cold weather stuff that can stay out there, greens and those different type of things, I am. And then I'm not going to plant the other stuff until May. And so I've been bringing them inside and outside, so they can at least acclimate. But our little cold snap did happen. So I'm glad that I brought the stuff inside. All right. So where are we today? So this is what I'm going to do. Since I'm up this morning early, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the workshop, because those of you, first of all, thank you for those who have supported us on the going up and becoming members and joining the Insiders group. So what we're going to do is this morning, we're going to go over to the Insiders podcast, those of you that are members, and we're going to be talking about some links between sexual trauma, sexual abuse, and sexual addiction. Because this has been coming up, quite a bit, and been getting some emails and things. The guys talk about, man, I'm just, stuck. I can't understand what's going on, having these whatever random sexual encounters, and, what's going on inside. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that on the Insiders, because this is going to take us more than 20 minutes than what we usually use on the regular podcast here to talk about that. And we're going to be going into some things talking about using sex as a coping mechanism and hypervigilance and those different type of things. And for that, we've got to have the time to be able to do it. So those of you that want to join us, feel free to go up, become a member, and then you have member access, and that's just at the first tier, and you'll have access to the insiders podcast information. But just to let you know, it's like, okay, so I give you a little tease here. We'll be talking a little bit about, trauma. We'll be talking about the different types of abuse or different types of trauma, the impact of it. We'll be talking a little bit more about trauma on the brain. I'm getting this so much because, and I think this is really important when we think about this. I think we're starting to get to maybe a turning point where we're starting to recognize, of course, that once the sexual abuse happens to us and then we're dealing with the trauma, that there is, I'm going to say, a biological, physiological side to this. And it helps us so much when we understand those pieces to realize, no, it's not about, moral failure. It's not that, you're not a good individual. What it is there are some physiological factors that are going on with the hippocampus, how it's, maintaining and forming memories, and things that are going on with the prefrontal cortex that's going to be regulating impulses and emotions and things that feeds into when we're talking about the trauma and how it feeds into hypersexuality disorder or sexual addiction. And of course, we've talked about, the porn, and we'll be talking about that, the addiction. We'll be talking a little bit more about that on the Insiders. So if that's something that you're interested in and you really want to take a little deeper dive, then feel free, like I said, to become a member of the Insiders, Safe Place for Men Insiders podcast up there on the website, and join us there. All right. So, but I do want to share with you a little bit about the workshop that's coming up on July 7th through 9th. We're still kind of, nailing out the details here. But we do kind of have an idea of, just some of the agenda. Now, for those of you that are interested, so this is an in-person workshop. So we're finally getting to the point where we're going back to that. And people are asking me, like, well, what about, the whole vaccination stuff? So, you know what I'm asking you to do, if you can be vaccinated, your health, I'm going to say parameters or concerns, be vaccinated. Okay. So I've been vaccinated and boosted and whatever type of, and fortunately, I haven't had, what they call COVID, and it hasn't put me in the hospital. Whereas my brother, he was unvaccinated. We almost lost him. So, I guess the reality is you take your chances, right? But yeah, that's kind of where we're at on that. But anyway, so it's going to start, it usually starts Thursday at 12. So we do Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and it ends Saturday at noon. And one of the reasons we do that, because we like to give you a day. A lot of people when they come, or a lot of guys when they come, they need time when they get back home, because maybe sometimes the next day is a work day. So if we do it, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, then that means, Saturday, noon after we finish, then that gives the individual time to travel home. Then it gives them a whole day to kind of somewhat start reincorporating back into life. So that's how it runs. So if you thinking about it, it's Thursday noon through Saturday noon. Here are some of the things that we'll do when we get there. And I'm just giving you a kind of a little short outline. Getting to know each other. That's one of the first things we do once we get there. One of the subjects is charting your healing journey, right? And you guys know me. I'm a big component on this as a coach. I run into so many individuals that they're floundering and they're not moving because they haven't charted their healing journey. Like, what does that look like? Where do you want to go? Where do you want to be in so many years or months? That's what we do. We'll talk about how to work through the issues. That's an acronym, HOW. We'll talk about the 6 needs for every male survivor to actually become a thriver. And that's what this journey is about. And so I'm working with individuals who don't want to stay in this place where they've been for however long that it's been, and they're ready to thrive, and not just getting over, I'm going to say, the sexual trauma and sexual abuse, but but how that has affected and incorporated their life. And it's affecting other stuff. It's affecting their relationships. It's affecting their jobs. It's even affecting their wealth, right? Because they have some of those, I'm going to say, limiting beliefs that are actually holding them in those spots. We're going to be talking about reasons why men don't talk about sexual abuse. One of the subjects is the fear factor, how to face your abuse. The voice of emotions. Yeah, that's a big one. An activity that we do that helps so many guys. Dealing with the guilt, shame, and humiliation. We're going to talk about making impactful disclosures. It is so interesting when I have guys that come through the workshops and they say, this is one of the most, I'm going to say, how would I say it? It's impactful. It's impactful disclosure, because they'll say, like, I've told my story before, but there's something about the way that we do it here and the processes that we go through to just make it so much impactful. And I can tell you it does work. We'll be talking about masculinity. So the subject is sexual arousal doesn't mean what you think. And he's like, well, what does it mean? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about. Sabotaging, how does the abuse affect me today, right? So you got to be able to identify that. We'll be talking about self-medicating, my drug of choice. So what is your drug of choice that you're using? So think about being in a room with a group of men and we're talking about how we self-medicate, right? And the reason I say drug of choice, because we often think, well, so you've got maybe, the alcohol, you've got the whatever illicit drugs, narcotics, but that's not all. Sometimes we actually use exercise as our drug of choice, and it can actually be dysfunctional. Okay. Sometimes we use food as our drug of choice, right? So there's so many different type of things. Of course, we always have topics from the guys in the group, and what we do is we formulate that actually before we meet. Now, ask you, what are some of the things that you want to discuss, that you want to work on while we're here? So it's not just what's on the agenda, it's also what you put on the agenda. And then we'll be talking about goal setting to thrive and to stay the course. And of course, there's activities and things that are taking place. All right, so that's a myriad. And let me tell you, even trying to cover all those things in just those 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and then, up to Saturday noon, is a lot. And that's one of the reasons we have several workshops, because a lot of times individuals, they'll come in and we'll kind of do like part one. So we'll cover as much as we can, but then they'll say, hey, you know what? Let's do the next one. And the next one, we cover even more. We go into a little bit more in depth. But what we're doing is we're creating that family. We're creating that network. And that's one of the great things, about this. So if you are interested, like I said, July 7th through 9th, please go up to the website, safeplaceformen.com. Click on that. Please send me info on the next workshop. And once you hit that button and put your information in, you will automatically get an email, or you should. If you don't, then let me know. And it will give you the information, price, cost, all those different type of things, cost analysis. And if you want to, there's a link that you can go up and actually fill out the online application. So, and the reason we start so early is because it takes a while. There's actually a little homework that we actually have you to do before you actually attend the workshop. And then we have to do kind of an interview to make sure that this is the right workshop for you. I want it to be a good fit. If you guys can tell, I'm a person about functionality. I'm the type of person that, okay, if you're going to give me the couch, it needs to be able to turn into a futon, turn into a stove, turn into a bed, whatever, because I'm totally about functionality. One thing that can do many different things or serve as many different roles, right? And so even in the workshop, we're giving you information like that. So like I said, go up to the website, safeplaceformen.com, click on that. Please send me info on the next workshop, and then we'll actually start from there. All right, just another thing before I get ready to head over to the Insiders, a Safe Place for Insiders podcast. So I always let you guys know where I'm traveling, right? And I want you to think about this, because I haven't seen any other coach that actually does this. And the reason I let you know where I'm at, so if you're in that area and maybe you want to talk with me, you want to meet face to face, you have an opportunity to do it. Now, there are some individuals that take me up on it and some don't. I had a person that contacted me and they're like, you know what? Let's see, what is this? This is April. They're like, yeah, you know what? Man, I've been listening to your podcast since November of last year, and I'm just now starting to do some. That's okay, right? But here's the thing. Keep up on the information, because if I'm in your area, then actually we can maybe meet in person and talk in person. And that might actually help to move you on the next step. If you guys can tell, when I get excited about stuff, I'm a person like, let's get going. Let's get on the go. You've been listening for me for a year, 2 years. It's time to move, because there's so much that you can do and so much you can accomplish. And there's a wonderful life that you can actually live, but you've got to take those next steps. So anyway, what that just simply means is, when I said I'm traveling, so May 19th through the 22nd, I'll be in the Paws Bowl, Washington area, actually attending a conference there. So if you like to meet me in person, learn a little bit more, whatever about the program, ask me some questions, pick my brain, whatever, maybe even a mini coaching session, whatever. Send me an email now, right? So I can put it on my schedule. And then the 23rd through the 26th, I'll be in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And so I'll be working actually with a nonprofit organization there that helps male survivors of sexual abuse, because they asked me to help do some consultation and things with them. They like my program and they want to help me. They want me to help them to actually develop some things on their side so they can really scale. And we're talking about helping millions of survivors. Woo, awesome. And this is the thing. I think about this and I think about these opportunities. If I had never taken those steps to get out and start that reclaiming my life from the sexual abuse, I wouldn't be where I am today. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do. And that's why I'm encouraging you to come to the workshops. So those are the places that I will be. Like I said, if you would like to possibly meet in person, whatever, give me some emails so we can get it on the schedule, figure out how we're going to connect there. And there we go. All right, guys. So I'm getting ready to head over to the Safe Place for Men Insiders podcast, like I said, where we're going to be talking about understanding kind of that link between our sexual addiction or hypervigilance, whichever you want to do it, or hypersexual disorder, and the sexual abuse or the sexual trauma. So like I said, if that's something you want to know more about, feel free, go up, become a member, and join us. All right, guys. So until our next time, hey, remember, I need you to know, first of all, that there's someone who cares about you. And that's the person who you're listening to right now. And I need you to be safe. All right. We'll see you guys over on the Insiders.